All right, people. Midweek report time. What an interesting week it's been. I have to say, like, it really, it's weird because this year has been incredible. It really has, because it just seems like fight after big fight, news story after news story. Whereas it seems lately, the last like 2 to 3 weeks, it's really been tin on the ground in terms of what's happening, breaking news, stuff like that. There's not really been a great deal. And I think we're kind of in almost that kind of summer break period, is for want of a better word, where we look at what's coming up towards the back end of the year and it's just, August, September, December. Is there anything penciled in for November or August, September? Yeah, I'm jumping the gun, aren't I? August, September, October, so obviously Betur BF Bivol. Not sure if there's anything penciled in for November, and then December for Usyk. So we've got a lot to look forward to, and I would imagine they would try and do something in the month of November, who knows. So we've got a lot to look forward to, a lot of news coming up and a lot of big fights to preview. And saying that, like, it's not like we've had nothing this month. We've had plenty of fights on, and we still have plenty of fights to come. But it has been quieter, I mean, I think a few of us, in the YouTube boxing scene have really noticed that. I've been saying it in a couple of videos as well. But I think we're kind of getting over that little lull and things are starting to kind of kick back into gear now. I think we should start this by previewing the card, the Magnificent Seven, as Frank Warren likes to call them, that is coming up this coming weekend up there in Birmingham in the West Midlands. Now, this will be headlined in a rematch, Nathan Heaney versus Brad Pauls. First fight was pretty good. This time around, Nathan Heaney, I've seen Nathan Heaney in the run-up to this fight, and he looks a lot more, how would you explain it, maybe a bit more rootless, a bit more like the fire is burning. Even if it wasn't already burning, it's burning now. You forget, like, Nathan Heaney, I'll hold my hands up, and I've said this once and I'll say it again and I'll reiterate it. I've never rated Nathan Heaney that much. I kind of thought he was, how would I word it? I don't want to say necessarily a gimmick, like, with Johnny Fisher, but kind of, maybe that's the best way to say it. His ring walk is entertaining. My Delilah, I think Tom Jones sings that. And he certainly brings a big audience. There's some similarities there with him and Johnny Fisher. Obviously, he's not a heavyweight, he's a middleweight, and he's not the puncher that Fisher is. But he certainly brings the crowd. He is 35 years old, so he's really 35 years old for a middleweight. I know he's not the most aged 35-year-old in the sense of he wouldn't have that many miles on the clock. He only turned pro in 2017. So he was quite late even turning pro, to be fair, was Nathan Heaney, in all fairness to him. But look, I've seen him fight. I thought Denzel Bentley would win. He didn't. Proved me very wrong in that fight. He drew against Brad Pauls. He's going back in there immediately. And every fight he's actually fought on over the last 3 fights have been on those Magnificent Seven shows, so credit to him. I'm pretty sure Nathan Heaney was a Magnificent Seven. Denzel Bentley was a Magnificent Seven, I think it was. So credit to him. He is doing well. He needs to get a move on. If he wins this fight, he really does have to try and make inroads at world level, especially considering the fact that now it looks like Aleem Kanouli, Aleem Kanouli be moving up, because he obviously had those problems over the weekend with making weight. Serious problems. Not just the case of he was struggling. Serious. They hospitalised. So, yeah, he's never going to fight at middleweight again, I would imagine. So, this is going to be an interesting fight. We'll see what happens there. Ashley Lane versus Andrew Kane. Was he the original opponent? Forgive me if I'm missing something. Now, Ashley Lane, to be fair, he's on a win and run. But was he the original opponent for Andrew Kane? I cannot remember. I remember watching Andrew Kane's fight against Inoue, and that was a really intriguing. That was a really good fight. Beloute, I think he had 2 knockdowns in the first. He was knocked down very early. It might have been 1 or 2 knockdowns, but he came back to win it on a split decision. Chantel Cameron against Ellen McCallad. I think is how you say that girl's name. I think she's French. She is French. I'm pretty sure she fought Elisa Baumgardner. I was going to say Sky Nicholson. Don't know why she came into my mind. But yeah, I have seen her fight before. This will be Chantel Cameron's first fight under the Queensbury stable. She was previously with Matchroom. She's now with Queensbury. Owen Cooper versus Echo Usman. That's going to be an interesting one. Ezra Taylor. Now, I have seen him before, but I can't really pinpoint it. I have definitely seen him, but he's obviously not really, in the nicest way, had any performances really stick with me. But we'll see. Jack Arnfield versus Zach Parker. Well, this is listed as being at £168. I know there was talk Park would be moving up to 175. For the love of God, don't do that, because that's really going to end poorly for you. Jack Arnfield, I haven't seen Jack Arnfield in a while. Yeah, jeez. I remember his fight against John Ryder. I actually thought he lost that fight. He beat John Ryder. That was before John Ryder really kicked it into gear. Remember the fight with Nick Blackwell? Remember the Tommy Langford fight? Jesus, he had that Tommy Langford fight back in 2018. 6 years ago, over 6 years ago now, because it was February 2018. And he only just came back against Robbie Chapman in May, just previous May. So that was in the Winter Gardens in Blackpool, where they host the darts. Jesus, so he's been away for a long time. God, because I remember Jack Arnfield, he fought in a couple of Matchroom shows. So, yeah. What does he have left? We'll wait and see. What does Zach Parker have left, to be honest with you? Now, Solomon Dakis is rematching Michael Weber. And I think that's a fair rematch, because a lot of people actually felt Michael Weber won their first fight, which I believe was Solomon Dakis' last fight. Michael Weber's had a fight in between. Now, you may remember the original opponent was actually going to be David Adelaide. Apparently, he suffered an injury. Can't quite remember the nature of the injury. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it might have been a bicep or so. I can't remember the ins and outs of the injury, but he's injured, long and the short of it. He hasn't fought since he got knocked out by Fabio Wadley last October on the Fury and Ngannou card. Now, I was expecting him to beat Solomon Dakis. Solomon Dakis is the English champion. All right, he's not the British champion, he's the English champion. If they're looking to match Johnny Fisher, if Solomon Dakis gets through this, because he might not get through it, he nearly didn't get through it the first time around, I would be saying, yeah, do it. Put him in there with Johnny Fisher, or get Johnny Fisher in there, because it's an English title. It's not a British title, it's only in English, but nevertheless, it's still a form of a title. And I have said it, Solomon Dakis was with Matchroom originally, then he went to Queensberry, and I was even saying, I was like, why are you signing him? No disrespect to him, but I have never remotely been impressed by Solomon. He's not even fun to watch. You could not be remotely impressed with someone, but they could have a bit of something that you want to watch. In the nicest way, I've never remotely been impressed by him. I would expect him. I mean, he's got through Webster before, barely. But he's got through him. If he's improved in any way, he should be getting through him again. But let's wait and see. So that's pretty much the bulk of the card. It is. Listen, that was magnificent 7 shows. I like the wording, because magnificent they really are. They're very good. And some people are saying, it's not that good a show. It's actually a very good show. Believe it or not, it's actually a very good show on paper. I like it. I've never been one of Frank Warren's biggest supporters, to say the least. But I will always give him credit where it's due. And to be fair, he announced Denzel Bentley headlining in the York Hall in the back end of August. And normally those York Hall shows are very, very good. The shows Warren has been doing, and it really does show the stable he's got for himself compared to a couple of years ago. Because even some of these shows where the title isn't next gen, but you could call them next gen shows. What Eddie Hearn does, you could call some of those Queensberry shows that, when he does them in the York Hall or in Telford. I think he does them in some small centre in Telford. They're still very, very good. I look at this show Warren's doing this week, and I look at the one in the O2 next week. And again, they're both extremely good shows. I really look forward to watching them both. I might even do a watch along for Chisora versus Joyce. As much as I might not like the fight in terms of seeing Chisora take some more abuse, which I'll get onto him in a wee bit, I still am interested in the card, and I'll probably end up doing a watch along for it, to be honest with you. So Warren is doing some good work with these shows. He really, truly is. He's obviously still got some world champions, the likes of Nicky Ball, the likes of Kakache, the likes of Dynamite Daniel Dubois. Now, on Wednesday, was it Wednesday? No, I think it was Tuesday evening, 258 Management released a tweet saying, "Evening, Queensberry Boxing. Any update on why Dynamite Dubois isn't signed up for VADA testing yet?" Now, a lot was made out of that. I did a video on it. A lot of people commented. A lot of people were interested in it. A lot of people are jumping the gun. And I said that tweet alone has had people. And listen, when you hear something like that, you do stop and you do reflect and you do look and you say, okay, he's not been, there's nothing unnecessarily untoward there, because he's not been caught with anything. He's not failed a test or anything like that. But you look and you think, okay, fought Kevin Lorena in 2022, December 2022, was dropped 3 times in the first round. Although the first one was legit. The other two were more Daniel Dubois, I think, voluntarily going down. Maybe he was still hurt from the first knockdown. Maybe he just didn't know what to do. I don't know. But yes, to go from that to taking flush shots from Filip Hrgovic, who is a much bigger puncher, there's no question. I would even say Miller probably hits a bit harder. To go from being hurt by Lorena to taking those shots and coming through all that, having great energy in the late rounds, yeah, you could look at that and say, well, that is something to maybe raise an eyebrow at. Of course. At the same time, you could just say, well, maybe he feels it's his last effort, and maybe that was the actual kick up the what. The Usyk fight was the kick up the backside that he needed to really understand, okay, listen, this career has only so long. But my promoter after the Usyk fight is kind of saying it's sink or swim against Jarrell Miller. Well, I got to learn to swim now. Doesn't matter if I've just been able to get by floating. I can't just float my way through. I got to get on with it now. That could be it. I've heard people say that they had it on authority. Again, I haven't heard any of these rumors that the VADA kind of contract was only sent this week to sign up for it. So if it came, we'll say, on Monday, to be calling someone out on Tuesday, bit impatient. But either way, Daniel is now enrolled. VADA will confirm. That is from Queensbury Boxing directly, Queensbury Promotions. So they're now saying Dubois has signed up for VADA. But it is going to make people raise an eyebrow. And again, I said in the past, when you see fighters who are ranked by the WBC and then they drop out of the rankings because they haven't enrolled in VADA's clean boxing program, Jarrell Big Farmer Miller is the obvious one that jumps out at you. He was ranked. This is many years ago now, even before the Joshua fight was even signed or anything like that. And, you did look and think, okay, well, he's not signed up for VADA. He seems not content to go down the WBC route. Why that is, some people could say maybe he just wanted Joshua, and then he gets the Joshua fight and we see what happens, and then subsequently we see what happens again. We kind of know, all right, that's why he didn't want VADA. Fair enough. So, we have seen it in the past. Just because someone doesn't, it's not necessarily a smoking gun, but people are asking questions. Are they right to? There's that. I will look through I just have a quick gander through some more of the news here. So I noticed here that Jamel Charlo has been stripped of his Ring Magazine 154-pound title due to inactivity. He last fought at that weight in May of 2022. So 2 years. The Ring gave him 2 years. Well done. That's only 2 years, you'll say. We only gave him 2 years. He hasn't fought at that weight but by the time he fought Canelo last year, September, you should have already stripped him by then. The fact you're only doing it now, seriously. I know the Ring Magazine, it's not necessarily, there's no mandatory for the Ring, there's no anything like that. I get that. It's kind of like a lineal title with a belt. But still, you want to see them. If someone is not doing it, if they're perceived the best in the division, they're not even in that division, just get rid of the flipping thing. I think 2 years is long enough. I think a year is really long enough as well. Mike Tyson on Deontay Wilder saying he's concerned about him because he's too old to fight Jake Paul. Then let Mike get hurt. What does it say? Then let Mike get hurt. You don't have to worry about paying my bills. Everyone says this makes no sense. But he's how old? He's not who I am. He can't go Mongolia and have someone know who the F he is. So Mike Tyson, but yeah, well, he's right. Mike Tyson is known the world over. But I can understand where Deontay Wilder was coming from, though, to be fair. I mean, Mike Tyson, what was he? Was he, not he wasn't paralyzed or anything, but didn't he need like a walking aid or something like that only a year or so ago? The man is 60 years old. The man hasn't had a professional fight in nearly 2 decades, because it was 06. Yeah, was it 06 when he fought McBride? Or 05? It was either 06 or 05. I think it was 06 when he fought McBride. Kevin McBride was pretty damn garbage in the 2000s. I'd like to point out the 2000s is not remembered for being a great era of heavyweight boxing now, was it? So Kevin McBride was basically a journeyman in the 2000s. What would he be today? Seriously. And he beat Mike Tyson, made Mike Tyson quit in 06. And he's fighting Jake Paul now in 2024. I know you could say, well, it's, I think it's only 2-minute rounds or something. Nevertheless, why? Yeah, Deontay Wilder could probably walk into, there's most American towns, big American towns, Wilder could walk into, no one would know who he is. But I really, what does that matter? at the end of the day, like, because this to me just is a silly, ridiculous thing. I don't think it should be happening, but yeah. Andy Ruiz told reporters that he wanted the Joseph Parker rematch next if he beats Jarrell Miller on the undercard of Crawford versus Madrimov in August. You know, I was just thinking, I seen a picture of Andy Ruiz, and he's not catfishing this time. He looks just as big as ever. And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, you know what, he's out of the ring 2 years. He's still not in any way, like, he's never going to be the body beautiful type. I get that, but like, he still doesn't look in shape. I wouldn't rule out Big Farmer Miller pulling, would you even call it an upset? You know, if you were talking of Andy Ruiz 2019, I'd pick him every day of the week over Miller. I think he'd light him up. I don't think he'd necessarily stop him, but I think he'd light Jarrell Miller up and outpoint him over 10, 12 rounds. Now, it might be a fun fight. I'm just thinking it probably will be an entertaining fight while it lasts. But, you know, it's just like, what the hell? Like, with Andy Ruiz, he had that win over Joshua. He went full-blown Buster Douglas, lost the title immediately, and now just seems all he's interested in is just getting one more paycheck, and that's it. Could this be it? I don't know. I really don't know. Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda will go to purse bids on August the 20th. 70-30 split in Shakur's favour if no deal is agreed and neither fighter pulls out of the fight. WBC President Mauricio Sullivan has revealed. I love that fight. Zepeda versus Shakur. I think it will be flipping brilliant. I think it'd be one of those fights where you would see a more entertaining fight from Shakur, because William Zepeda just makes fights entertaining. He's brilliant to watch. I think that'd be one of the few fights you'd watch where you'd say, right, that is a fun fight. Now, Derek Chisora has been involved in an altercation with a Deliveroo driver over the weekend. Police were reportedly called and decided to take no further action. It was agreed Chisora was not at fault for the situation. Apparently, the cyclist was cycling on the pavement, now, which they're not, I don't think, specifically supposed to be doing. I don't think they're allowed to do that. Cyclists, aren't they great? Aren't they just flipping great? You know, where I'm from in Dublin, right? I'm from Swords, obviously, but I live in the outskirts, which is kind of more kind of country roads, and there's always cyclists out here, and they're nightmares. They're absolute nightmares, and apologies to anyone who is a cyclist, but they just, I think out here they're particularly horrific because they never cycle in single file. It's impossible to get around them sometimes, and they just take the you know what out here. My best friend, here's a little story. My best friend's a farmer, and there's a particular hill. It's actually not near where I am, but it's not too far away. It's about five or so minutes away. And it's a massive hill going uphill, and it's quite. You're going down it. You just, you know, you let the car coast down it because it's a big hill. And I remember him telling me a story that it was a cyclist was on a path, and then he came off the path. It was a couple of cyclists really, actually, but they shouldn't have even been on the path. They came off the path, and they just came in front of a car. The car had to go around them, and the car beeped, and he was just like, I'm not having that. So he was in a tractor, and he overtook the cyclist going up the hill and then slowed right down. So he went that slow, the cyclist couldn't continue cycling up the hill, so they had to get off their bikes and walk. And I just remember thinking, that's brilliant. Yeah, that is just, that you just have to laugh at that. That's how you do it. That's how you flip and do it. I don't really want, like, the whole Chisora Deliveroo incident. Apparently Chisora was, you know, saying you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, and fair enough, he shouldn't have been. And Chisora just, you know, did what he needed to do. I'm not saying it was, you know, necessarily, you know, he should have been, you know, getting physical or anything like that. I'm not sitting on the fence with that one. But yeah, listen, I don't want to make too much of it, because at the end of the day, you know, it's not going to affect him against Joe Joyce in reality. You know, it's not like he's going to be worrying about lawsuits or anything like that. But yeah, I did see that, and apparently it's saying Chisora was not at fault for the situation. I don't think those Deliveroo, Uber Eats, whatever you want to call it, I don't think they particularly like anyone who's not a customer even mentioning anything to them. That's not speaking from experience. That's what I've heard. So that's the situation with Derek Chisora. Naoya Inoue will defend his undisputed super bantamweight world titles against TJ Doheny on Tuesday, September the 3rd in Tokyo. I love Inoue. I love watching him. But why midweek? Just honestly, why midweek? Why? Why can't you do it on the weekend? We're all in work midday on a Tuesday, the 3rd of September. I will be. Most of others will be. Please, why? Why did you do it on the weekend? Why did you do it on the weekend where we can all enjoy it? We can all watch along and we can all have a bit of fun with that, you know? Just a minor nitpick. In terms of the fight itself, listen, I'm not really... I'll say I'm not keen on it, but like I'm not going to be jumping for joy, you know, with that fight. There's nothing against TJ Doheny as a person or anything like that, but like I've seen him get battered from pillar to post by Michael Conlon. You know, that might have been, I think that was at 122. He's had some good wins in Japan, but he's been brought in as the away fighter, and now he's brought in as the away fighter again against the ultimate fighter, and he is going to get badly beaten. Badly beaten. Look, I thought Lewis Neary would get badly beaten against Inoue, and he did. But I did think, okay, it could be fun, and it was. Didn't expect Inoue to get dropped. I don't expect Doheny doing anything in this fight. He'll give as good as he gets, so he'll do that. But I don't envision. Yeah, I'm not expecting much in this fight. I really am. I'm not expecting too much in this fight. So, yeah, that's it. That's pretty much most of it in a nutshell. So, I will leave it there. Getting midweek report out early this week. This has been I've enjoyed this one. Not that I don't enjoy doing these videos, I obviously do, but there's been a few more things to talk about. So I've enjoyed, you know, having a little ramble about this one. Let me know your thoughts on everything I talk about in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Peace.